So I have a pre-sketched out design. This is what the tail is going to look like. I just decided to put some spikes in it if I get around to it, just to kill two birds with one stone, I guess. And then, so here's the bottom piece. The bottom piece is going to be shorter and longer. The top piece will be fatter and shorter? Something like that. And then this is the back piece that attaches to this part of the tail right here. And we'll make 6 of these little triangles to make the spikes on it. Okay, so we have our fur right here. This is really short fur. It's actually probably less than ½ an inch. And then we have this, it's about ½ an inch, and this right here is a little over ½ an inch when brushed out. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to draw your pattern onto the fabric. This will be the longer, or the shorter, fatter piece. Make sure I get all that in the frame there. And basically you'll just sketch out everything for your pieces that you're going to cut out onto the back of the fabric. And when you actually cut it out, you'll be making about 1 inch around where it should where the actual lines of where you're going to sew is. For cutting, I don't use scissors like most people would, because I'll show you real quick when you cut it. You can see that it cuts the fur too, which you don't really want. You want the fur to stay long and intact. So I use one of these. I don't even know what it's called. It's just a thing. I guess you could use like a box cutting knife too, and it makes the keeps the fur intact if you don't press down too hard. Okay, now that you have all your pieces cut out, I did 2 for each spike because you'll need to sew those together. And so when you sew things, you want to sew them inside out so the fur is facing inwards towards itself, because you're going to sew around right here, which when you turn it inside out, it'll be nice and seamless. And then to attach the spikes actually to the piece itself, you'll want to cut a slit here, here, and here, 1 for each spike, and then you just slip it through there. And these pieces will get sewn together around the edges. So when you sew, you want to go, make sure your pieces are facing inward, and, hold on. Make sure your pieces are facing inward towards each other, and you want to go through the piece, and out, and then back through the piece. I'll draw a picture so you guys can see better. Not around like that, but you want to go back through the same side you just came through, which makes it a lot easier for when you need to pull the fur through after it's all done. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you use a sewing machine and you have to brush all this out with something like a cat brush, kind of like this, which I was previously using. Yeah. But when you hand sew, you don't have to work as much at it to get the fur out from the seam. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you use a sewing machine and you have to brush all this out with something like a cat brush, kind of like this, which I was previously using. Yeah. But when you hand sew, you don't have to work as much at it to get the fur out from the seam. Alright, now that I've got that sewed in, this is what it looks like. All the spikes are in. I kind of, as you can see, I just sewed along right there as I kind of shoved the little spikes through and then sewed them on. And then the next part that I have to do is sew this and this together to make the tail, and then put the back on so that it has a back to it, and stuff it. Okay, now that you've got it sewn together, it should look something like this, and once we turn it inside out, hold on. It'll look something along the lines of this. It'll be nicely sewn together. I used a sewing machine just for the sake of time, and once you brush it out, all the fur will be nice and smooth. It won't look wavy like this. And yeah, then you have to stuff it and sew on the back piece that holds it all together, which is basically a circle. I waited to cut that out until I was finished with it so I knew what size I'd need. Okay, so here's the finished product. You've got your spikes coming out, which was actually really simple to do. It's easier than you'd think. It's all brushed out nice now, and you can't really see the seams too bad. For the back, I didn't do the circle just because of time, but you can just sew it straight up together. It doesn't look as nice, but it's still doable, and you can put one strap here and one strap here to attach it to a belt. And for the stuffing, actually, it takes about 2 times more than it looked like it'd take to fill it up, so just keep that in mind when you buy stuffing. The materials, it's usually about $12 a yard for long fur, which is about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. For shorter fur, it's about $8 to $10, so just keep that in mind when you go buy things. So that is how you make a tail. You can do whatever kind of shapes you want. It's basically all the same with how it works. I'll try to make a better video next time, but right now I'm just kind of sick and was really lazy on this. But I started about 1:30 and finished at 2, so that's not too bad.